Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're going to dive into something really cool, a totally new approach that could, honestly, change how we interact with AI by making it way faster and a whole lot smarter. It's all about letting the AI think ahead, during its downtime, so it's ready for you before you even ask. But first, let's set the stage. Let's talk about a problem that I guarantee you have felt if you've ever used a powerful AI. Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You've just dropped in a huge chunk of code or a dense PDF. You hit enter and then you wait. That lag, that little blinking cursor just mocking you. That delay is the exact problem that some of the top minds in AI are trying to fix right now.
So what's actually happening behind the scenes there? Well, the industry standard is something called test time compute. It's pretty much what it sounds like. The AI gets everything all at once, all the background info and your question, and it has to do all of its thinking from a complete standstill, right there on the spot.
In this whole think-on-the-spot method, it's got some serious downsides. It's not just the slow response times that we feel. It is incredibly expensive in terms of pure computing power. And maybe worst of all, it's just plain inefficient. I mean, if you ask 5 different questions about the same document, the AI literally has to reread and reprocess everything from scratch 5 separate times. It's a huge waste of effort.
So this is where things start to get really interesting. Researchers are now looking at that whole model and asking a pretty simple but powerful question. Does it have to be this way?
And that right there, that is the big, game-changing question. What if, instead of just sitting around, doing nothing, waiting for us, the AI could actually use that downtime productively? What if it could get a massive head start on what we're probably going to ask anyway?
And you know what? When you stop and think about it, this opportunity is literally everywhere. A coding assistant, it has access to your entire code base the moment you open a file. A document Q&A app, it has the whole PDF you just uploaded. The background info, the context, is almost always there way before we type our actual question. That creates this perfect unused window of time for the AI to get to work.
And this brings us to the really clever solution that this research proposes. It's an elegant new idea called sleep time compute.
Okay, so here's the big idea in a nutshell. During that idle time, it's sleep time, the model gets to work deeply analyzing the information you've given it. It's basically thinking ahead. It's not just making a quick summary, it's drawing conclusions, connecting the dots, and creating this super efficient, much smarter version of the original info. They call it a learned context that it can pull from in an instant.
Now this juggler analogy from the paper just nails the difference. On the left, you've got the standard way. The AI gets the whole word problem and has to painstakingly crunch all the numbers from scratch. But on the right, with sleep time compute, the AI gets the setup ahead of time. During its downtime, it does all the math. Okay, there are 200 tennis balls, 100 are indigo, 10 are marked. So when you finally ask the question, the answer is just there. It's already done the work. It's like looking up an answer versus solving the whole problem from zero.
Okay, that's a fantastic story, but does this clever trick actually hold up in the real world on really hard tasks? Well, let's look at the numbers.
The results are, and I'm not exaggerating, pretty staggering. The big headline number is a 5-fold improvement.
Yep, you heard that right. Using sleep time compute, the AI models needed 5 times less on-the-spot thinking, 5 times less compute to get to the exact same level of accuracy as the old method. That is a massive, massive leap in efficiency.
And this chart here shows what the researchers call a Pareto improvement, which is basically the holy grail in engineering. You're getting the exact same quality result, the same 70% accuracy, but for a tiny fraction of the immediate cost and the wait time for you. Same destination, much faster, cheaper train.
But wait, it gets even better. The real magic, where this goes from being a cool trick to a potential paradigm shift, is what happens when you ask more than one question. This is where that upfront thinking investment starts paying off big time.
Look, of course there's an upfront cost to do all that sleep time prep work, but that cost gets spread out or amortized over every single question you ask after that. So maybe for the very first question, it's not much faster, but by the time you're on your 5th or your 10th question, the average cost for each answer has totally plummeted because the AI isn't starting from scratch every single time.
So how much cheaper are we actually talking here? Well, the study found another really eye-popping number.
A 2.5 times decrease in the average cost per question for any app where you're having a deep back-and-forth conversation with an AI about one topic. This is absolutely transformative. Okay, so let's zoom out. What does all this really mean for the future?
How is this going to change the tools we use every single day?
Well, it's important to note this isn't a magic bullet for every single situation. The researchers were really clear about where this approach shines the brightest.
And here it is. This is the secret sauce. Sleep time compute is most powerful when your questions can be reasonably guessed from the info you provided. If you give it a math problem, it's a pretty safe bet you'll want the final answer, right? If you give it code, you'll probably ask about how a function works. That predictability is what lets the AI do truly useful work ahead of time.
So what's the bottom line for you and me? Well, it means faster, snappier AI assistants that feel way more responsive. It means it's cheaper for companies and probably for us to run complex queries. And I think most excitingly, it points to a future where AI is woven more seamlessly into how we work. It's less like a calculator you pull out and more like a collaborator who's already read the meeting notes and is ready to go.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating idea to chew on. We're seeing a shift from an AI that just reacts to an AI that anticipates. So what becomes possible when our digital partners are always thinking one step ahead of us, preparing for our next question before we've even finished typing? That's the future this research is pointing to. Thanks for tuning in.